I'm a gamer, a long time one that is. I played a crap ton of Nintendo games. NES, SNES, DS, 3DS, Nintendo GameCube, and so on. I even remember playing a lot of games, however, on the Nintendo Wii for the most part. Games such as Mario Kart Wii, Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, New Super Mario Bros. Wii, list goes on. There was this one particular game, however, I recall having in my basement for quite a long time though, and not many people knew about it. That game was Spore Hero. This was a game I played when I was younger until I grew out of it. The memories of me playing it during childhood years clicked into my mind really fast. For context on what Spore Hero is, it's a game where you can create your own creatures. Basically creating your Sporling hero creature, name him whatever name you want to give it, and then go around exploring places, battling or even singing, dancing, and posing with certain NPCs in the game. The main goal of the game is to put a stop to the evil villain NPC named Zarkator from planning to destroy one planet with the red meteors he summons that can corrupt some NPCs in the game and even manipulating them into attacking you to where you have to battle them. Game's pretty simple and well explained for it all. That day I decided to go down to my basement and search for that game. I had a lot of other games stored in my basement too, which isn't all relevant. My main focus was finding my old Spore Hero game, and after about 20 minutes of searching, I found it. My old copy of Spore Hero. However, the cover was really dusty, so I had to blow off the dust. There were a few scratches, however, too, on the cover, but I didn't think too much of it. I then went back upstairs to plug my Wii in. I took out the Spore Hero disc, but when I did, I noticed it too had a couple scratches on it. But I yet again thought it was nothing serious. It looked clean, so regardless, I just hoped it would still work on my Wii. I turned my Wii on and I put the game in. I watched for about 6 seconds. Surprise, surprise, my game went through and booted up on my Wii. I grabbed my nunchuck and Wii remote before starting the game up. It loaded up as normal with Miji, who's the main NPC creature of the game, crashing into the EA logo and walking off in a dizzy state. God, I still remember finding that funny because of the cartoony style of it. I then waited for about 20 seconds and my game started. I went to my save files and this is where I found something off. From what I remembered, I only had one save file, but from what I saw, I was shown 4 save files. Maybe this was just a glitch, I thought to myself. The first file I had was already completed. I had a lot of blue shards and all 327 parts in that file, and I was saved in the Ancient Grounds place. File 2 had 40 blue shards collected and 12 out of 327 parts, and was saved on Moonlit Caverns, which was strange because you don't get there until you have a lot of parts and shards, and after you complete the Moonlit Stoneway place. File 3 had 20 blue shards collected and 9 out of 327 parts, and was saved on Mushroom Grove. Also very strange, and had to be some sort of glitch. Then last but not least, File 4. 10 blue shards collected, and 5 out of 327 parts, saved in Moonlit Stoneway. This had me weirded out, but I tried not to let a certain glitch kill the mood for me, so I started off with File 1. I waited for about 15 seconds for my game to load. Then after it booted up, I was not in Ancient Grounds at all. I was in Mushroom Valley. There was no music playing, and Mushroom Valley itself looked very glitchy. The healing fruit tree looked practically invisible with the exception of the healing fruit still being visible. Litly, who's one of the smallest NPCs in this place, who's one of the Mijis, and also not interactable, was nowhere in sight, as if the glitch had wiped him out of existence. I moved around to see if the rest of the NPCs were present. So far the only one visible was Big Chief. I went up to talk to him, but I got a dialogue box containing a text full of nothing but gibberish, which was weird because he was also talking like at the time you had to destroy the red meteor that Zarkator crashed in front of him. But there was no red meteor in sight, and Big Chief began to make incoherent noises and do very strange movements. I explored around the rest of Mushroom Valley, and no other NPCs were in sight. I then reached the near end of Mushroom Valley, and looked around some more. That's when I only found Noken C, one of the leaders of the Spiky tribe. the one you had to fight in his older tribe in order to allow access to their nest so you can evolve your creature. Only he, though, was visible. The other spiky tribe were nowhere in sight. No-Can-See was behaving strangely, just like Big Chief, and making incoherent noises and moving very frequently, except his movements were very bugged. No red meteor, though, was in sight. I talked to him and I got the same dialogue text filled with nothing but gibberish. I checked around the rest of Mushroom Valley before finally deciding to leave and go to Ancient Grounds. When I did that, however, my game just froze. My Wii made the freezing sound. I powered off my Wii and powered it back on. I then started my game up again, and only to find out that File 1 was gone. This had my heart drop. I was beginning to feel very creeped out by how strange my game was behaving. I swallowed and decided to try out File 2. I waited for the 15 seconds of loading. Then as my game loaded, I was not in Moonlit Caverns. I was in Moonlit Stoneway. It's weird how the save files tell you which place you last saved on, but only to be transported to another place. I knew full on this was a glitch or hack, and it was actually creeping me out. Moonlit Stoneway's music sounded very low quality, as if it was glitched and slowed down. Listening to it made me feel uncomfortable, and I felt like muting my volume, but I just went with it. The moon fruit trees were invisible with only the exception of the moon trees themselves being present. They were as glitchy as the healing fruit trees. The little moon fruit stealers that take your moon fruit whenever you kick the trees to make the moon fruits fall down were not in sight. The singers along with the Great Yeti were also not in sight. Most of the NPCs were gone, with the exception of Garboil and Slaparf, the two twin creatures you had to fight to free one of the singer species and get him back to his nest to the rest of his tribe. I went up to talk to them. Their talking movements seemed normal, but they made the same incoherent sounds as Big Chief and No-Can-See did in Mushroom Valley, and I got the same gibberish text in the dialogue box. Weird because they never had a red meteor crash onto them, and there was never even one in sight at all. After about a couple minutes of exploring and no other NPCs were found, even the tuber tongue plants were bugged, and only their stems were shown. If you played the game, you'd remember having to help the one singer tribe member get past the tuber tongues. I went up to the tuber tongue plant stems, and I was suddenly getting hit, as if the tuber tongue plants were there, but you couldn't see them. The health bar of my creature began to go down fast, and I couldn't move. I was stuck. The creature then did the dramatic dying animation, before sinking through the floor and water, and my screen cut to black before my Wii yet again froze, and made the freezing sound. I powered my Wii off and on yet again, and my heart was at this point racing. After seeing that, I wanted to just stop playing, but I had to see what the rest of the files had for me. So I started up my game again. And no surprise, File 2 was gone. All that was left was File 3 and 4. I started up File 3 and waited. Surprisingly, I was actually in Mushroom Grove. As usual, the place was bugged. The healing fruit trees were as usual bugged. Most of the NPCs were gone except Kikirasu, who was alone and was of course behaving strangely and making the same incoherent sounds. And I get the same gibberish text in the dialogue box when I went up to talk to him, even though, as always, there wasn't any red meteor in sight. I also remembered there too were tuber tongue plants here, but all I could see were their plant stems. I decided to just avoid them after the last incident on File 2. I explored everywhere, and all there was emptiness. So I just decided to yet again leave. I decided to see if I could go to Ancient Grounds this time, without my Wii freezing. I sat there waiting for my game to load. Surprisingly, it actually loaded, and I was in Ancient Grounds. The music in Ancient Grounds sounded bugged, almost as if the music itself was stuck on the same note. It was not really creepy, but a bit repetitive. I just, however, proceeded and ignored it. All the NPCs in Ancient Grounds were actually all visible. Miji, Sage, Combat Master, Sing Master, Dance Master, and Pose Master were all present, but they were behaving strangely and making incoherent sounds. Talking to them would as always give me nothing but gibberish in their dialogue boxes. I remember very clearly too, red meteors were never summoned in ancient grounds since Zarkator most likely never showed up in ancient grounds in the game. So no red meteors were in sight in front of any of them. The noises they made actually got louder and louder, and I noticed that they were all talking towards me. As they got inches closer to me, my game then froze and my Wii made the freezing sound. I dropped my nunchuck and Wii remote and was sweating. I stared at that screen for about 2 minutes as the freezing sound of my Wii continued. I then got up and powered off my Wii again, and then turned it back on. I then sat back down before trying to collect my thoughts. I am scared as to what File 4 will bring me, and part of me wanted to just stop playing and just get rid of the game. But another part of me tells me I had to know what happens next. I swallowed and took a deep breath before booting my game up once again. I went to File 4 and waited for it to load. I was then transported to Creature Beach. No music was playing, just dead silence. All NPCs were gone. Not even Sage and the Ancient Guardian were existent. The big giant creature you see in Creature Beach was bugged. It was missing its eye, but his mouth was still enterable. You enter its mouth to fight Zarkator and the final boss. I went inside its mouth, and I was at this point paranoid as to what surprises I'm gonna get. I started shaking, and while trying to hold onto my Wii remote and nunchuck, that was when I saw him. Zarkator, standing there alone. I walked up to him, but I was not engaged in battle with him. Instead, I got a dialogue text saying, ... and then gibberish. Zarkator did make incoherent noises, but it was much deeper and more low-pitched. It was actually very fucking creepy because there's no fucking way he can be possessed by his own red meteors, since he has the power to use it on vulnerable creatures, and no red meteors were present beside him. Then another dialogue box appeared with one last gibberish text of crumbled words before Zarkator's body began to lift. He does this animation when you are in the final fight with him, and he regenerates at full health with the power of his red meteors on all 3 phases. However, because there were no red meteors, Zarkator's body remained stuck floating on the lifting animation, and it felt like I was looking at an exorcism. My Wii then froze again, one last time before my screen cut to black. I waited to see what else would happen, but nothing came. I powered off my Wii and turned it back on one last time, only to discover that my Spore Hero game, my childhood game, was no longer loading. I started to get emotional. I felt tears welling up in my eyes as I couldn't believe what I had to just witness. My game, once decent, now completely destroyed. I took the disc out of my Wii and decided on getting rid of it for good. While the nightmare is over, I still cannot get over the horror I had seen in my game. The glitches, the non-existent NPCs. I wanted to just think it was my imagination. But it wasn't. No way am I going crazy here. And it's why I'm writing this story. Never leave a game you consider a childhood memory hidden and locked away for ages and ages, because you never know what may happen next. I spent about 50 minutes sitting on my chair crying and letting out my emotions as I am traumatized and horrified, and I'm now to where I'm never touching another game again. Knowing if I come back to my childhood after ages of keeping it all locked away and hidden, only to come back several years later witnessing nothing but disturbing glitches and bugs until your system starts to freeze and crash non-stop. I spend the rest of my life now watching gaming other than playing for myself.